welcome to another edition of Let It Be Known, brought to you by the Bell Project, helping to free tens of thousands of people and defeat the cash bail system, and also by the March On PAC, a woman led organization that is determined to find the strongest, the most unbought and unbossed Democratic candidates to save democracy. Lots going on this morning, but a lot in the entertainment world. We finally will get a chance now with the embargo lifted on the social media review of the Michael movie. We'll get a chance to tell you what we thought from our private screening of the blockbuster film that is actually kicked off in Berlin to the wildest of Michael Jackson fans, along with members of Michael Jackson's family. We will bring you that. A big tour announcement yesterday, or in the last couple of days anyway. And a missing influencer is raising lots and lots of questions for a lot of reasons, for a whole lot of reasons. But first, we have to begin with our president and the Pope. Um, well, somebody. I feel like you ever see Shula King? Um, Shula King always asks us, somebody tell me what's going on. Because why does this president and this Pope, well, this president continues to go after this Pope? What is the deal? Last week we brought you the information. He talked about there was, well, that wasn't the president himself, but he had a member of his staff talk about sending military against the Vatican. And now, yesterday, this morning, really early this morning, it all hit the fan again when, of course, President Trump went on a tweeting spree, or a truth social spree against the Pope. And the Pope, the first American-born Pope, who a lot of people like to point out is who has some black in him, hit back. The Pope was talking about the criticism the president has leveled, calling the Pope weak on crime and terrible on foreign policy. I'm not sure. Now, I'm not that versed in the papacy, but what is it that they have to do with crime and foreign policy? I thought that was a politics thing, a politician's thing, but I could be wrong. Somebody can correct me on that. But Leo has been unusually direct in his criticism of the U.S. and Israel's war in Iran. And he said that he had no fear of the Trump administration and vowed to keep up his appeals for peace that he said were rooted in the gospel. But Trump went Trump on him. He says, I don't think he's doing a very good job. He likes crime, I guess. He says, we don't like a pope that's going to say that it's okay to have nuclear weapons. We don't want a pope that says crime is okay in our cities. I don't like it. I'm not a big fan of Pope Leo. And early on Truth Social course, as we said, he called Leo weak on crime and terrible on foreign policy. He says, quote, Leo should be thankful because, as everyone knows, he was a shocking surprise. He wasn't on any list to be pope, and was only put there by the church because he was an American, and they thought that that would be the best way to deal with President Donald J. Trump. If I wasn't in the White House, Leo wouldn't be in the Vatican, Trump said. Well, the Pope responded. He says, I have no fear of the Trump administration or speaking out loudly of the message of the gospel, which is what I believe I'm here to do, what the church is here to do. He added, we are not politicians. We don't deal with foreign policy with the same perspective he might understand. He says, but I do believe in the message of gospel, and the message of the gospel as a peacemaker. And meanwhile, folks, gas is about to hit $10 a gallon because of the latest nonsense. With the Strait of Hamas. I'll never say that word correctly. RNG says Trump is going to make the black come out of the Pope. The Pope's grandparents are from the Seventh Ward, New Orleans. I mean, what is this? Religion, politics. That's where you miss. That's again. That's where you go wrong. It seems like both sides are overstepping here. But Leo says, "Hey, you better what set you from? Because you know where I'm from. I'm from Chicago. I'm from the Seventh Ward in New Orleans. So it's not like Leo is looking to back down at all. And to threaten military action against the Vatican is sounds kind of crazy, doesn't it? It just sounds way like, folks, America, wake up. What's going on with you? What's going on? How the how the mighty have fallen. That's what it comes down to. Anybody in any position to have any sway or leadership, from Mega Mike, Hakeem to whomever, you okay with this? There's absolutely nothing you can do to quell this at all. I mean, I shudder to think that if anybody, anybody else was in office, something would have been done. Yeah, there's a audio was proven to be authentic a few years ago that's circulating again about Ronald Reagan and Richard Nixon. Reagan, at the time, I believe, was governor of California, and Nixon was president. And my, oh my, oh my, the racism that came out of their mouths, uh, including calling African leaders monkeys, things of that nature. Um, and it got me to thinking, like, this country really doesn't believe or doesn't subscribe at all to uh, righting the wrongs that they have committed, the atrocities of slavery and anti-blackness, and it's right from the top levels of this country. That is just insane. If you haven't heard it, I should have pulled it up, but it is because it's not new. It's 2 years old. I think people are just regurgitating it now. But the phone call between Reagan and Nixon, it was more than one. It was more than one phone call, and it was really here. Let me uh, let me pull pull that up because it's so disturbing when you hear it. It's not surprising, but it's disturbing still. Nonetheless, because you expect that stuff, and it's all over like TikTok, for instance. And here's the TikTok. Check this out.
And I tell you, to watch that thing on television, I did.
Yeah.
To see those monkeys from those African countries, damn them, they're still uncomfortable wearing shoes.
Well, and then the tail wags the dog there, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The tail wags the dog. I, for example, just had a call from Reagan, California, and he's been out there and so forth, and
tail wag.
As you can imagine, there's strong feeling that we just shouldn't. As he said, he saw these.
Thing,
He said
just and this country shudders. Yeah, that was a phone call between Reagan and Nixon. Did I say Reagan and someone else? But yes. And And yeah, I caught that too, RNG, how Nixon was laughing. And Nixon, so it goes on. Nixon goes on a phone call with someone else and repeats exactly what Reagan had said in the exact wording. It's just thinking of what the Trump administration has done. Of course, it brings that up, and then we see the attack uh, um, with Leo, and we know Leo's background. So it all makes perfect sense. It, it's just it is awful, and nobody in a position stands up. Everyone is shaking in their boots, very afraid. And you got to ask. I mean, what is this? The mafia? Gosh. Oh boy. Let's turn our attention. I always say stay in a hotel. I'm not a Airbnb person. I have family members who are. I just don't do it. But this thing here, short-term rentals marketed as so-called sex dungeons are popping up in neighborhoods across the country with listings openly advertising bondage, experiment themed rooms, and adult focused experiences that residents say are disrupting once quiet communities. These are all available on Airbnb. And the listings reviewed by the Daily Mail include homes outfitted with sex swings, cages, mirrored ceilings, and BDSM fantasy decor, with some charging hundreds of dollars per night. Neighbors in several areas said the properties have brought a steady flow of unfamiliar visitors and activity they did not expect in residential neighborhoods. Some describe seeing guests arrive in costumes or lingerie, while others reported late night noise and a constant turnover of short term occupants. This is what they're doing with Airbnbs now. They're making them sex dungeons for Airbnbs. See, I don't do the Airbnb. Like I said, I got family who do it. Everybody, but I guess they can go in hotels too, right? We just don't know about it. We don't know who was in that room before us. We don't know who's in that room going to be in that room after us. But this is a new Airbnb problem of all the problems that they have had. And they say this is particularly the case in places like Florida and even in DC. See, I don't mess with the Airbnb folks. I just don't. It's not me. And right. And there you go. RNG hit another home run. He says, now people have the nerve to talk about a P. Diddy party. Man, he said mayonnaise people do the most. Right. And therein lies that too. In fact, Diddy had the appeal hearing. They're probably not going to release him, but the thing is, oh, we quick to say, oh, he freak off. What they doing? If what Diddy was doing was called a freak off, what in the world you call this stuff? I mean, look at this stuff. How is that pleasurable? I don't want to know. I'm just rhetorical. It just looks like what? So, give me a break. This stuff is crazy. But this is what people are finding in their neighborhoods when someone decides to rent an Airbnb. It's it's just too much. They say that enforcement of this has remained a challenge. Investigations have found cases where apartment units were effectively turned into a short-term rentals with a constant rotation of guests, prompting warnings from city officials and legal actions against violators. Airbnb has policies that prohibit certain activities, including the use of properties for commercial pornography and large unauthorized gatherings. In at least one case, a property owner said they had no idea their rental had been used for explicit content until after the guests left. Well, for now, the listings remain online, often advertised with explicit photos and descriptions, even as complaints continue to mount from residents who say they were never told this kind of activity would move in next door. Oh my goodness. I tell you, freaks don't just come out at night anymore. The freaks are all day. It's an all day job now. Houdini needs to make a new song. They need to update the song. Oh gosh. In other news this morning, this is disturbing to say the least. Ashley Janae, I don't know how many of you have heard of her. She's an influencer out of Miami, lifestyle influencer known for promoting a quote soft life. Was found dead during a trip to Tanzania as family members and friends pushed back against claims that she died by suicide. She was 31 years old, traveled to Tanzania to celebrate her birthday, and a recent engagement to a man that you saw earlier in that video. You'll probably see again, Joe McCann. Social media posts shared in the days before her death show her smiling. There he is, traveling and documenting what she described as a milestone moment in her life. According to statements attributed to Tanzanian authorities and shared publicly by McCann, Janae died by hanging, a claim that has been presented as the official account of her death. Well, family members and close friends have reportedly rejected that explanation, pointing to her recent engagement to Joe, her travel plans, and what they described as her state of mind before the trip. It was a birthday trip. One of her friends wrote online that Janae was radiant with joy in the days leading up to her death, calling the circumstances inconsistent with suicide. Of course, questions have also surfaced about the timeline surrounding her death. There are many posts circulating on social media that claim that there was a delay of as much as 2 days before authorities or relatives were notified, though those claims have not been confirmed by officials. Details about where Janae was, where she was found, is still unclear, and some accounts indicate that she was discovered at or near the property where she was staying. Others suggest she may have been found outside. Authorities haven't said exactly where she was found. Tanzanian officials are handling the case, but as of yesterday, there's been no autopsy or toxicology findings. At least they haven't been released publicly. But folks are saying, wait a minute, how is she going on a birthday trip? Just got engaged with this guy, and now she's hanging herself? You can't make me believe, RNG says, in 2026, Black people are hanging themselves. I said that recently, too. I said that, especially with what was going down south in Mississippi and other places. But this seems a bit strange. It seems a bit strange. And, obviously there's, with the only statement released by the fiance is that she died by hanging or suicide. Allegedly, he released this statement. It's kind of bizarre too that that's what you're going to release. You're not going to pour out your heart on social media like you've been. Like, oh my gosh, what happened to my fiance, the love of my life, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, there's a lot of criticism being directed from folks on social media toward that man. Not to say that he had anything to do with it, but, we don't know. We really don't know. But to call this suspicious is it's an understatement to call it suspicious. Because, come on, she's going on a birthday trip. There's no indication, at least from all the posts we see from family members, loved ones, followers, that there was any type of stress, depression, and just got engaged. And going to Tanzania to celebrate her birthday. Got to be happy, right? That doesn't sound like a person preparing to hang themselves, commit any type of harm toward themselves. Hopefully there's a full investigation, Dr. Nicole says. It just sounds really, really bizarre, and it seems like a long line is forming as far as how many times we keep seeing black women go on these vacations and then not come back alive. They're being shipped back in coffins and body bags. It's really getting to be a problem, folks. Uh, our best to Janae's family. Hopefully, they get some justice, some answers, because they certainly need answers and deserve answers. We're going to switch our gears a little bit to this story. Um, yeah, the nation's top financial officials are warning major banks about a new kind of AI threat to banking. They have raised concerns about how financial institutions protect consumer money and data. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and Federal Chair Jerome Powell recently met with the CEOs of the country's largest banks to discuss the risks tied to a highly advanced AI system developed by Anthropic. The technology is capable of identifying weaknesses in computer systems, which can make it easier for hackers to carry out cyber attacks. Officials told bank leaders to strengthen their defenses now rather than wait for a problem to occur. They stressed that the technology could be misused if it falls into the wrong hands. And it always does, always seems to fall into those hands. Now, they claim that for everyday bankers, Americans, the warning doesn't mean that money in the bank is suddenly at risk. It's been at risk. RNG knows that. He keeps it under the mattress and other places. Deposits at most financial institutions remain protected, they claim, including through federal insurance programs. Now, people should understand how these FDIC programs really do work. If your bank goes under for some reason or whatever, remember, they tell you that if you read your statements, I don't care how much money you got, you can have Jay-Z money in the bank. Only up to $250,000 is insured. That part they tell you. But the fine print says that they can pay you back that $250,000 of the millions you might have had in the bank. Only that $250,000, but they can pay that back basically on any payment schedule that they choose. It could be $1 a year for 250 years. That's fact. RG says my matches are safer than the gold at Fort Knox. Well, there you go. There you go. But experts say that this concern signals that cyber threats are becoming more advanced and could lead to more sophisticated scams that targets consumers, bankers. One of the biggest risks for the public is an increase in convincing fraud attempts, including emails, texts, or phone calls that appear legitimate but are designed to steal personal information or money. They're saying that now customers should, they may notice anyway, more verification steps, fraud alerts, or delays in certain transactions as institutions work to stay ahead of the emerging threats. And another thing that they're doing, which is interesting, you have money in your savings or checkings account or whatever. It's your money. You get paid, whatever. And you go to the bank and you say, hey, I want to take out $1,500. They have to ask you, what was the origin of the money, even though it's been sitting in your account forever. And even though they know that you get pay stubs and, direct deposit or whatever, before they will release the money to you. And what are you using it for? That is, it is so uncomfortable. Banking is so uncomfortable to have to go into a bank for your money. It's not the bank's money, it's your money. And then for them to quiz you first before they can sign off on giving you your money. Where did it come from? And what are you using it for? What the heck is this? You talk about authoritarian state. Are you kidding me? We are living it, folks. It may not be as severe yet as Russia or North Korea or something, but it's authoritarianism. If you have an account and you go try taking out a few bucks, where did it come from, and what are you using it for? It is the most bizarre, twisted thing. But here we are. And again, nobody, none of the powers that be is standing up and saying, wait a minute, this isn't America. But here we are. Here we are. Boy, how the mighty have fallen, how the free has become enslaved. It's just unbelievable. When did they start that is the question. I asked that question, Dr. Nicole. They said it's been a policy that began after Trump took office, obviously. February, I believe, of last year. And I know because I went to the bank not long ago and to withdraw funds. And those were the two questions posed. And of course, being you don't even have to be a journalist or an inquisitive mind to respond by asking, when did it start? Why? What is that? This is my money. Blah blah blah. Because that was me. And the poor teller, you can't get mad at the teller. You can't. It's not her or his policy. They're doing their job. And it's not even really the bank's policy. It's the government's policy. You do your first inclination is, what the heck? What are you asking me that for? First of all, it's a stupid question to say, where did it come from, when it's coming out of my account. The time to ask, the time to ask that question is when I'm putting it in the account, right? That's the time it seems to ask, like, okay, if you're going to ask that question, if I'm putting a few bucks in the bank, you say, where'd you get this money from? That's the time to ask, not when I'm taking it out. And what are you using it for? All types of sarcasm. I can drip with sarcasm. I'm taking your mom to get an abortion. I don't know. I mean, something stupid. It's just crazy. But it's not the teller's fault. So any sarcasm, any anger, whatever toward it, it makes no sense. I mean, it's just stuff like this. So I guess many of us, including myself, have to learn that, or have to understand, not learn, but understand that it's not worth losing tempers and going out of pocket. it's a hard habit to break. Oh gosh. All right, folks. Ladies, it must be ladies' night because yeah, I got a big surprise. Usher and Chris Brown have announced a joint stadium tour that pairs two of the most commercially successful artists in modern R&B, setting up what industry observers expect to be one of the genre's biggest live events of the year. The tour, titled Raymond and Brown, combines Usher's last name with Chris's, while also serving as a direct reference to R&B, the genre both artists helped define across different eras. Details on the dates, venues, and ticket prices have not yet been released, though the tour is expected to launch later this year. Chris Brown and Usher, they jointly announced it on their social media. And of course, Chris Brown is coming off that huge stadium tour. Was it Breezy Bowl or something like that? And Usher, of course, with the wildly successful residency in Las Vegas, where homegirl got in trouble with a boyfriend and all that stuff. She had to kick him to the curb eventually. You a mom, though. You a mom. Oh my gosh. But Usher and Chris Brown, uh, kind of a stunner because they, they're both at the height of their game, concert game, and everything, and doing extremely well, especially Chris Brown, really, as far as selling out stadiums and things like that. Um, so it's really got to be that they're like, listen, everybody else joining together, and ours is gonna be the blockbuster. They talked about this other tour that Chile is totally messing up with her MAGA approach. That folks are saying we ain't going. This certainly surpasses that Salt and Pepper En Vogue Chili TLC stuff for sure. I bet you won't find Usher or any campaign trails for Usher and Chris Brown. Dr. Nicole is saying the same thing. My wife is saying that should be epic plus very expensive. Gotta check the ticket prices. She said, of course, they will be a lot. But I'm sure folks will line up. Look, they pay what is it, over 1,000 and more just to take pictures with Chris Brown after his concert. So that that in itself give promoters an idea of what they can charge for these two men. Beyonce, remember Beyonce's tickets were going for a few thousand. This should, and it's not comparing their talents at all, folks. So I know the Bayhive, they watch for that stuff. I'm not comparing, but that should give you an idea of what ticket prices will probably look like, and especially on the resale market where they get most of the tickets anyway. We complain about Live Nation and Ticketmaster, and yes, the all of the fees, et cetera, but generally the StubHubs and the what do you call it, Vivid Seats and the others, they snap them up. And the resale market, even the Ticketmaster resale. So if you're gonna go see these guys, it's gonna cost you a mortgage payment or two. That's my guess. And then you think about if they do the meet and greet backstage picture thing that Chris charges like $1,000 for, it got to be at least double, if not triple. And folks are gonna pay it. They're gonna pay it. These guys will make so much money, and it really takes verses to another level. Verses has nothing to do with it, that the show itself and the production itself. I'm saying that because you got these two guys, the ultimate verses for many people today would be Chris Brown and Usher, right? And to have these two guys together, no. Wife says, "Can I go?" Was you gonna get on stage with Usher? I mean, Chris Brown. You gonna be the he gonna pull you up on stage? No tongue kissing. A peck on the cheek. No tongue kissing. Okay, that has to be one of the deals. Oh my gosh, folks be doing the most. Y'all saw that with the homegirl going up on the stage with Chris Brown, and she supposedly married, and then putting her tongue in his mouth. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Y'all remember that oh my gosh, the things they do for these fans do. There it is, right there. There it is. I mean, girl, get a grip. He's like, wait a minute, I didn't sign up for all of that, did I? See, the way to pay that back is like, you have a Rihanna do that, and then Yeah, that'd be a good trade. Tell ASAP to relax. You know she ain't leaving you ASAP. But this is what they do. And folks, she said deal. uh, boy. But folks, fandom is something else. Fandom is something else. Eddie Murphy said it years ago in his Delirious concert, 1983. He said, all you have to do is sing and you can get any woman you want. He did. And and he's never been proven wrong on that. All you have to do. Let me see if we have a sort of PG rated version of Eddie saying exactly that. Because he wasn't lying. It was a comedy, but he wasn't lying.
And this is the business to be in if you want some pussy. That's why I got in show business, for pussy. I figure if Jimmy Walker could fuck, I'm fucking everybody.
All right. So he's going to, I can't find a PG version. But nonetheless, I apologize for that. He said just, and then he get into the singers. He said just sing. All you have to do is sing. And he went on the list. He talked about Teddy Pendergrass, yelling at folks, yelling at women, and they just throw their drawers on the stage. He went in on Michael Jackson. He said Michael Jackson, he said, he's not, to quote him, he's not the most masculine fella. But he's saying, and then he recreated the whole She's Out of My Life song. And he's like, women just throwing their underwear, Michael. It's the truth. It's the truth. It is so interesting. And the thing about it, you get that residual interest. I'll say it mildly. Because if you're around these dudes, the ones that they don't snap up, the other ones are left for you. That's how serious it is with a lot of women, not all women, right? I'm not trying to condemn any woman, or it's not even a condemnation. It's how they are, but it's how many of them are when it comes to celebrities. They will get the closest thing next to them. I know someone. I know who they were after, and they knew they gave up on this particular superstar, and essentially started sleeping with the superstar's brother. I'm not talking about a Jackson, I'm talking about somebody else. Had a baby with that person, and always wanted the brother, the main guy. I said, girl, you're too late now. That dude he ain't gonna look twice at you. You got a baby with his brother. I guess she should have, and again, I wasn't talking about the Jacksons, but I guess she should have, it should have been like Michael or somebody, because that happened in his family, right? We all know Jermaine and Randy have kids with the same mom. Oh my gosh. But listen, no negative Jackson news, folks. We got some good stuff. The Berlin, where is among, if not the most enthusiastic of Michael Jackson's fan base, got treated to the world premiere of the Michael movie. The family was there. As you see there, Jackie with Michael's two sons and Marlon as well. It arrived, one of the strongest fan bases in the world for Michael. And so the embargo, I was privileged to see this movie back on March 31st, my wife and I, and there has been an embargo on reviews, written reviews. The social media embargo has lifted. And so I can go ahead and tell you that this movie to sound corny, is a straight out thriller. And the choice to launch it there in Berlin really it tells you that those behind this film understand its audience. It knows who has carried Michael's music, his image, and his legacy across generations and across continents. Um, I remember sitting in a hotel suite in Las Vegas in December of 2024 with John Branca, the co-executive of Michael Jackson's estate, and he spoke about this project with a level of confidence that left little room for doubt. He talked about honoring the music, about giving the fans something worthy of what Michael created. That's exactly what this is. And from the opening, folks, from the opening seconds, the film immediately makes his move. Want to be starting something drops immediately, and it don't build slow. It drops you right into it. The rhythm, the sound, the movement. It's the same song. Want to be starting something was a song that Michael used to open the Victory Tour, the Bad Tour, the Dangerous Tour, and now it opens the film, and it works the same way. You're right. You're grabbed in immediately. Then they take you back to Gary, Indiana, where the estate continues to honor fans today. They're going to host a private screening for residents of Michael's hometown on April the 13th, tonight. But what you see is structure, you see expectation, and you see pressure that never lets up. A household where greatness wasn't encouraged; it was demanded. And Coleman Domingo hits the role of Joseph Jackson out the park, folks. I mean, he doesn't just play him; he locks in the posture, the tone, control. None of it is exaggerated. It's not theatrical. It's real. It feels real, particularly if you knew Joseph Jackson. And then there's Jafar Jackson, Jermaine's son, Michael's nephew. And this is where everything could have gone wrong. But he settled into that role. And there are moments where you stop thinking about who's playing the role and you just see Michael Jackson. And that's pretty much, it's interesting because Jackie the other day said that. He said that and got emotional about it. Both Coleman Domingo and Jafar should easily have their names in discussions for awards when that season comes up. That's how good their performances were. I was surprised. I was shocked. You know, Antoine Fuqua knows what he's doing behind the cameras, directing this, and John Logan was the film writer. Recent reports suggest that the film originally went further, but legal issues forced a complete reworking of the third act, shifting the ending to the height of the bad era. But what you get is Michael at his peak, on stage, in control, and whether those reports are true or not, the choice works because fans and perhaps those beaten up by, we see all this crazy news that we get today. You can use the reminder that when the Jacksons hit the Motown 25 stage and Michael earned that telephone call from Fred Astaire afterwards and an Emmy nomination for his performance of Billie Jean, you see that, you feel it. And then you think about the obvious decline of the music business today. And it reminds you, and this film reminds you of how Michael made MTV accept Black artists. And how Thriller became and remains the most successful and most talked about music video in history. Then we talked about the war that's going on now in the Middle East and this non-ending friction that we see domestically, the Pope and the president and the gas prices, etc. This provides a compelling reminder about how Michael made rival gang members call a truce when he engaged them and invited them to participate in his landmark Beat It video. So this is what entertainment is supposed to be about. This is why you're supposed to go to the theater. This is why you're supposed to watch, something on television just to get away from it. And this takes you away from all of that. And then there's a scene, folks, between Joseph Jackson, Coleman Domingo, and boxing promoter Don King, two alpha males, right? And you see where Don King hands Joseph this Cuban cigar. He goes, this came straight from Fidel Castro himself. But he was pressing Joseph about the promotion of the Victory Tour, Michael's participation and the promotion of it. And Joseph gives his assurance, and you could feel the tension. You could go back and you can feel like, okay, this is probably how it happened. And I also enjoyed how the attention to detail in this film. If you know anything about Michael Jackson, you'd appreciate the detail here, because they provide space for a guy named Bill Bray. He was Michael's head of security, and Bill Bray wasn't just a security guard. He was protection, yes. He was a presence, and he was guidance. And if you saw Bill Bray, you knew immediately that Michael was somewhere in the area. And when he steps in, he checks Joseph. Michael was so afraid of his father, and it was Bill Bray. It was Joseph who actually appointed Bray as Michael's head of security. And you had to appreciate it. And the one somber note, if you know the story, for me anyway, personally, was they show that when Michael had the Pepsi burn accident, which I don't understand to this day. And I think I saw something about that not too long ago. Michael never sued Pepsi, and he could have owned Pepsi. He could have absolutely owned Pepsi. Pepsi did a lot of business with him, though. But they show how Michael visited these children in that burn center, and he was concerned about these children. And Bill Bray was right there by his side in the hospital as he went around visiting people. But the sad thing for me, that I found sad, that 99.9% of the folks won't pick up on, is that before Bill Bray died, I got a chance to talk with him. And he was in the hospital. He was in hospice. And he had one wish, that Michael would come see him. And with all the stuff that was going on with Michael, the trial, et cetera, Michael didn't get a chance to go see him. And that was sad, because Bill Bray even Michael referred to him basically as his second father. A lot of people said, oh, what about Berry Gordy? And no, it was really Bill Bray. And speaking of Berry Gordy, Lorenz Tate plays a heck of a Berry Gordy. And you can see the friction between Berry Gordy and Joseph Jackson as well. I always remember Joseph saying, telling Michael, that's not Berry Gordy's blood running through your veins. That's my blood running through your veins. Jealous of Berry Gordy, or angry with Berry Gordy. And then the film, it does go into John Branca. And that's a bone of contention for Paris Jackson, Michael's daughter. But it should not be. Because Branca is not just a character. He's a force behind the business of Michael Jackson. He's the man who helped orchestrate deals that changed music forever, including the acquisition of the ATV catalog, which you all know as the Beatles catalog, which is a catalog that really, for lack of better term, and certainly no pun or no disrespect intended, kept Michael Jackson alive. Now, the film doesn't over-explain it, but it's there. And people will say, well, Janet Jackson wasn't in the film, and neither is older sister Rebe, whom Michael had gifted her only hit song, Centipede, to. People will notice that. Now, there are reports to say Janet had declined involvement. However, LaToya does appear. And that choice has a meaning, if you ask me. I think that choice is a bridge to all of the scandals, because LaToya was at the center of the scandals. She's the only sibling that really had a speaking part, because even the brothers didn't really have speaking parts in this movie. And it's really interesting because a lot of people always believed, and those who knew differently, but they believed that Michael and Janet were the close ones. But it was always Michael and Toya, and it was always gonna be Michael and Latoya. And the film really helps you to appreciate that. And here's what matters a lot. Not only did Michael's son Prince play the role as executive producer, but so did all of his brothers except for Randy, including the late Tito. And by the end of this film, you're not thinking about what was missing. You're really not. If you saw the news out of Berlin, all of the moviegoers there got up and danced because at the end of the film continues with a lot of music, and they're dancing and they're singing along, and it's a party. But this movie captures Michael at his peak, at his most brilliant. And as I said at the top, it is nothing short of an absolute thriller. And, opening night in America, official opening night is April the 24th. And I'll be there, as the song says. I'll be there to see it again. But here's where I think that they may or may not. I mean, I'm not an expert, but there will be. I'm getting lots and lots of confirmations that there will be a part 2. And I think that's where they start to head into waters that they didn't want to get into with part 1. Because you're going in, especially if you're going into the 90s. You can't go into the 90s without the scandal when it comes to Michael Jackson. Whether you believe in Michael or whether you don't believe in him, that to me is treading some really murky waters. Now, I'm told that a lot of part 2 has already been filmed. It's already been there. It just didn't make the final cut in part 1. So with that in mind, it seems to me that they're still going to somehow get around the scandals. Now, there was a report that one of the thoughts on the opening and something that may have been filmed was that they would start off with the scandal, with the flashing police lights and Michael at Neverland, and they're coming to raid Neverland. I wonder if that's going to make the cut in part 2. It may have to, and then they will do. I mean, I guess there are ways. Again, Michael has always maintained his innocence. He was acquitted on 13 charges. So there is a way that Hollywood can do this without making him look like he's a criminal. Only a smooth criminal. And are you okay? But we will see. We will see. Because I think the movie, sometimes they say leave well enough alone. But when you're talking about this type of money and the money that this film is going to make undoubtedly, it's hard to just leave it alone. And understand that, the beneficiaries of this is his kids. RG says, you never hear about him being acquitted of 13 charges. I wonder why. Yeah, it was 13 charges. I was sitting in that courtroom. They said not guilty 13 times. And, they'll, I guess that would make sense, if they want to go on into this, delve into it, because they ultimately have, or they have the ultimate victory of not guilty, not guilty, not guilty, not guilty. And that's, that's a Hollywood ending right there, right? So we will see. I could imagine that this estate will not allow it to end on a sour note. And with all the bickering and stuff, and of course, um, that goes on with the Jacksons. You got to hand it to John Branca and John McClane. The job that they have to do as estate executives, it's got to be the toughest of all executorships. It has to be, because the claims that they have been fighting, and I'm not talking about just like these allegations, but people have put in claims for, oh, he owes me this, Michael business owes me that, Michael's business did this, did that, and that's since the day that this thing went into probate back in 2009 when he died. They have nonstop been in court for something, nonstop, literally. And of course, now of course we know about being in court with Paris Jackson and her you know actions against the estate. Of course, the Cassio family, who was known as Michael's second family, suing the estate for 200 million or whatever it is, some outrageous amount of money. And then you have the young men from the Leaving Neverland documentary. They have that situation going on. Um, and again, that doesn't speak to innocence or guilt. It speaks to what's going on. And they are dealing with stuff left and right. And listen, let's face it. Some of his own making, some of the media making, some of other people's making, but Michael did not live the cleanest of lives as far as scandal is concerned, as far as problematic situations are concerned. And so they've had to clean it up to the point where in 2009 when he died, and I've reported on this many a times, um, they assessed his image, his value, whether you agree or not. But this is from an IRS standpoint, was assessed at $1,500. He was $500 million in debt, which was a big reason why the $1,500 valuation. $500 million in debt. Now this estate is worth about $3+ billion. They spent a reported $150 million to make this movie. The movie's probably going to top $1 billion in gross. So you're going to add to the coffers, and all the Broadway shows, the Vegas shows, and all the other the licenses of the music, the sale of part of the catalog to Sony. These guys diligently have worked to, and you see the celebrations. When he died, he was not the Michael Jackson of the 1980s or even the 1990s. He was not that popular. Now he once again stands above everybody else. And that is the work of John Branca and John McClane in the estate of Michael Joseph Jackson. So you got to give credit where credit is due. And I get criticized by Michael Jackson fans today about championing the work of the estate. All the time. Social media, they're hitting them. Even a couple of Tito's kids. Why are you capping for the estate? Because without them, you guys would be in serious trouble. You probably would be working at the car wash or something. That's why. It's the bottom line. But kudos to the Jacksons, Jackie and Marlon and Jermaine and this is big for them. They deserve it, and they get a chance to really see experience again the love that the world had for their brother. And really, as Jermaine put it, a lot of people criticize Jermaine, but he's right. There's no Michael Jackson without the Jackson 5. That's where it all started. It all began right there. So kudos to them, and hopefully the movie will do $2 billion. In the meantime, and in the between time, On Wednesday, got a special guest from the Belge Project again. So join us as they give us more information on what they are doing to try and get rid of this cash bail system that mostly affects who? Black and brown people. We'll see you tomorrow, though, on another edition of Let It Be.
Let's go! Let's go, Flav. Hey! Public enemy is coming through. Public enemy is coming through. Public enemy